It's almost like a live wire demonstration of that, of a guy trying to figure out, can I be who I need to be? Pierre Poilievre needs to pull out his superpower.
We've got quite the show here. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Pierre Poilievre getting praised on the CBC by the NDP. Never thought I'd say that, but that's what's happening here. We've got a segment here on LNG and whether this is really going to go through. Port of Churchill, East Coast upgrades. Will Mark Carney do LNG in Canada? Is this all just nonsensical rhetoric? Let's jump into this. Jumping over to CBC.
Trade talks with the U.S. have dominated the Prime Minister's summer, but it's also been, a lot of other activity in other files. He already got rid of the consumer carbon tax. He has passed the major projects legislation, and he has also dropped, of course, those reciprocal tariffs on CUSMA, as we just heard in that clip. But the sectoral tariffs on steel, aluminum, on softwood, they're still on. So I want to get you guys, give me your honest assessment of what you think this government has done so far, how they're performing, and if things are on the right track. Laura, let's start with you. What do you make of the Prime Minister and his time in office to this point?
So first off, this lady, she used to be a former advisor to Justin Trudeau. This opening segment here is very interesting. Her take is spot on.
I think right now, up to this point, it's been the Mark Carney show, which makes perfect sense given how he became leader and how they won the election, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. But what I'm starting to watch and what I think is going to be really fascinating as we head into a more traditional parliamentary session is caucus relations. This is a new part of any job, frankly, for Prime Minister Carney. Prime Minister Carney is used to being the governor of a bank, a CEO, chair of a board. Those are big jobs where ultimately you get to make the decisions, right? You're trying to bring your department heads and whomever else along with you. This is very different, right? Now, you could either look at it as you have 179 team members, if you're into sports analogies, which I'm not, or you have 179 shareholders or members of the board. That is a very different dynamic. And it's something that I don't think we're used to seeing from Prime Minister Carney. He hasn't been a member of caucus before, so he's not necessarily used to the politics of that, and he hasn't had to lead it. And those of us who watch politics all the time know that often when you start to see the honeymoon slip, you're seeing that with caucus relations first. You're seeing some of that angst. They're going to hold you accountable because ultimately they have to answer to their constituents for decisions the Prime Minister is often making. And
we're seeing that with Palestinians right now. We've got Anthony Housefather pretending to be outraged again over what's going on with Palestinians in the streets. I mean, I think he's legitimately outraged, but he doesn't have enough of a backbone to actually do anything about it. Anthony Housefather came out with a letter, had a handful of Liberals sign it. Barely 20% of them signed this. This one here, Housefather, 31 other Liberal MPs, release call to action on rising anti-Semitism in Canada. This is the caucus starting to break apart. 31, the numbers are not that good. I mean, really, this should be 100%. This is scary that this is not 100% that signed this, but I mean, that's the Liberals. They don't care about people, they care about themselves. But that is the caucus starting to fracture, as she pointed out. I'm not surprised that the Liberals have good strategists like this lady. She's spot on with her analysis there. The Liberals are really good at politics. Once again, very greedy, don't care about people, but very good at politics. And that's what she's showing here. She knows the relationships and what needs to be addressed.
I'm really watching how caucus is shaping up. I'm really trying to hear and listen to some of those smaller press conferences and what's the tone and tenor of that, especially as, to your earlier point, this is supposed to be a pretty rock and roll fall for the government.
Yeah, and obviously caucus is what took down Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. That was his weak spot. That's really what pushed him out. Michael, how do you...
Yeah, so that's just it. Caucus is what eventually got rid of Justin Trudeau. He couldn't handle it anymore, even for Justin Trudeau's ego, his massive overinflated ego, when he had so many people pushing back against him, coming up with public letters, humiliating the guy, he eventually broke. So this take here by this Liberal, she was spot on. Let's move ahead now, where the NDP guy, this guy here, praises Pierre Poilievre, and his take is also spot on.
Shtick, this continued posture, more of the same, is not going to fly heading into the fall unless Mark Carney makes some kind of major mistake.
Yeah, Zane, to Laura's point, when you listen to his by-election victory speech, he says he wants to extend a hand to Mark Carney. He made kind of a performance out of that one. But then literally like 36 hours later or something to that effect, he was calling Carney worse than Justin Trudeau, a walking broken promise. He was piling on the criticisms on Friday after the retaliatory tariff walkback.
Can we tell who JP Tasker voted for? I think we all know. It's like, come on, man. Pierre Poilievre would work with Mark Carney if Mark Carney came out and wanted to put forward something that was good for Canada. I don't doubt that. It's not just a theatrical thing. If Mark Carney said, hey, let's fix the crime in Canada, Pierre's not going to say, no, I don't want to do that because you're a liberal. He would actually vote with it because he knows that's what Canadians need right now.
Saying he's losing. We're obviously seeing that Poilievre is reverting to form in many ways when push comes to shove, right?
Sure. He's also trying to figure out something we're all trying to figure out, which is, are we still in this Canada United moment, or are we back to normal? Can we go after the other side, or do we have to think about country first? Like, it's a crass, cynical observation, but everyone's testing it of every hour of the day to say, can we do our thing, or do we have to do the bigger thing? And it's really unclear where we are in that moment. So to give Poilievre a bit of, maybe not grace, but it's almost like a live wire demonstration of that, of a guy trying to figure out, can I be who I need to be, or do I need to say the thing about the country so that, I don't look like I'm out of sync with the moment, which was actually the core of his criticism during the election. Listen, I think for Pierre Poilievre, he's got to take one job at a time. And what that is, to Michael's point, is that he's now got a seat. Check. The next thing is to keep his job, because to be clear, Michael's right. The conservative movement is formidable. The bench strength is formidable.
Going back to what he just said there, Pierre Poilievre wasn't out of sync during the election. Pierre Poilievre's plan was great for Canada. Pre-approving minds, his housing plan, tough on crime, all of it. He had a lot of great ideas. The only thing he didn't do is fearmonger with Donald Trump, and that's the only thing Mark Carney did. You notice Mark Carney, what were his ideas from the election? Nobody knows. All it was Donald Trump fearmongering. Pierre Poilievre went the route of hope, when fear motivates people more than hope or goodness. It's just sad, but that's how it is.
Wanting Pierre Poilievre's job is going to be a real thing. And some might deny that happens in January, and very well could not. But he's got to do what he needs to do in terms of what he needs to say, the money, the fundraising, the values, all those sort of things need to line up to Pierre Poilievre largely being a version of Pierre Poilievre that we have seen to keep his job. And then after that, I think Pierre Poilievre needs to pull out his superpower. I know many of us have been talking about how he can't do more of the same. He can't just keep being the same guy. But his superpower, if we go back to when he became viable as leader, it was predicting what the next big thing was in this country and communicating it effectively. And I hate to give Pierre Poilievre credit, but he was the first guy, probably out of any MP, who take out jersey color, to talk about inflation, to double down, triple down on inflation, to be right on it, to be first on it. That coasted him through the leadership of the Conservative Party because he seemed prescient in a certain way. So my challenge to Pierre Poilievre is, find the next thing, man. If that's your superpower, find the soft tissues, something we're not talking about, communicate it in a way that makes sense, double, triple down. But that's tomorrow's job. That's after he wins the leadership. I almost sound like I'm apologizing for him. I'm not intending to, but I'm just looking at this from a strategic perspective. He needs to do the job for January and then figure out how he predicts the future, which he did so miraculously well. And maybe that's a one and done thing and he can't do it again. But that seems to be a bit of his superpower, and communicate that in a viable way going forward. I think that's his path.
Yeah, so far.
Wow. That's coming from NDP strategist. You can see here, Zain Velji, former co-director of Naheed Nenshi's NDP leadership campaign, outright praising Pierre Poilievre on here. And he's right. That is Pierre Poilievre's superpower, is doubling down on those things because he's been a career politician. He's seen the cycle come and go, come and go. He knows what's coming. Mark Carney and the Liberals attack Pierre Poilievre about being a career politician, but it brings real advantages to Canada. And I think Pierre's already starting to do this. He's coming out and said deporting people, immigration. He's already taken that as the first stance after the election. And now he's coming out with the Castle Law. These are major things that need to be dealt with now because everything else hinges on this. We look what's happening with all the crime right now. You can't have a modern society with crime that is rampant, rule of law that isn't fair, like we see with Simieritsch and then Palestinian protesters banging drums all day long. It's not fair. You can't have an unfair justice system. It doesn't work. Canadians can't even defend themselves with gangsters coming in. You got a father that just was ended the other day. 2 shots to the chest. Now he's gone. His kids had to witness him getting blown away. Sean Fraser saying, this is not the Wild West. Yet it is the Wild West. Would Sean Fraser be saying that those gangsters were in his house pointing that pew-pew against his chest? I mean, look what's going on here today. I must warn you, this is some seriously disgusting stuff. So this coming from the Niagara Regional Police Service, put this out today. Custody is in suspect after, I can't read that out, but this is in Welland on Sunday, August 31st. So this guy here, Daniel Senecal, let's put a face to it. Someone's got the photo there. This guy, as you can see here, she, her, got some flags here, clearly a guy, broke into a house where there was a youngling. They say a girl under 5, I think she was 3 years old, went into her bedroom. The child was, after speaking with the child's parents, it became apparent that an unknown person defeated the lock on the front door, entered the residence between 10 p.m. and 9 a.m. This monster went into the little girl's room. The parents didn't know. He then did this to the little girl, and then you can see here, then he took advantage of her. Why do we have people like this in society? This guy offers zero value to Canada. He should be removed from existence. This guy's a monster. You can see here what he did to her. This is disgusting. This guy's a beast. We need to really sit down and ask, what value does this man offer to society? In jail or out of jail? It's zero. He's a monster. So then why bother have him around? It's like every single day there's a story like this. I could put one of these on here every single day. It's just disgusting monster after disgusting monster that shouldn't have been born. I can only imagine what the father of this daughter is feeling right now. It goes on to say here, they've been supported by detectives assigned to the SA unit and forensic services unit. Like, we need a change in this country. Sean Fraser saying this isn't the Wild West, doesn't care that this stuff happens because it didn't happen to his daughter. People are struggling. If it's not the crime, then it's the jobs market. I mean, look at this. Canadian man laid off from a $95,000 a year job, can't even work at Walmart. His brother makes $120K a year, still can't make ends meet. After 18 months of being unemployed, I can't find a job at Walmart. I'm 33 years old. I might never work a job with a salary again, so my dreams of owning a home and having a family are gone. I'm truly terrified of what this means. Does this mean life is over? I feel this. I mean, I got out of a divorce. I didn't have kids. I was 33, 34 years old. I was working with my ex at her notary office, and suddenly I didn't have a career. I had a YouTube channel that was barely making enough money to pay the bills, and that was the one that I ended up working on for 8 years, and then it got hacked by a Russian hacker and then illegally deleted by YouTube, and then I got angry, started ranting on the internet, and then this channel blew up. Most people do not end up with a unicorn like what happened with me that just landed in my lap from me ranting on the internet. That's why I spend so many hours working, trying to give back as much as I can to you guys that have given so much to me. So soon this chart is coming out. I should note too, I have finished up on Mark Carney's conflicts of interest, all 500 and however many million of them here. I'll just give you a brief look at this. We'll break this down more later, but Mark Carney's invested 91.62% in the United States, 1.96% in Ireland, 11 companies, United Kingdom 5 at 0.89%. Where's Canada? Number 3, 0.53%. That's what Mark Carney's invested in our country. He's basically an American. He's all in on America. Like, it's disgraceful. What does this mean? I mean, these people are going to look for other places to go like America or anywhere else that will take them where actual prosperity can be found, because it's not in Canada. The Liberals are trying to ruin our lives and they are succeeding, and people don't know why it's happening because they don't pay attention. But as things get worse and worse, people are going to start to look, why are things so bad? And then they're going to come across people who explain it to them and they're like, maybe I shouldn't have voted for Mark Carney. The real question is can we turn this around in time? This is what's really driving the decline in Canadians. If you do everything right, you make smart choices, get a good job, you get to have most of it taken away in taxes, receive none of the benefits as lower income people do. Many barely have anything more than them. Canada's leaning into equity over equality. We need people to be rewarded for working hard and facing consequences for being lazy. That's how we drive people to do better. This is a great comment. We don't need lazy freeloaders who want everything given to them. We need people to bust their butts and build this country, build their own lives, work hard, get a great life, just like Pierre Poilievre says. On the flip side, on CBC here, we've got a Liberal partisan commentator, Laurie Turnbull.
Before I let you go, Laurie, I just want to get your quick thoughts. As we mentioned, there will be coming back to Parliament. Pierre Poilievre does have a seat in the House. We will be seeing him sort of pushing on Mark Carney, asking for questions.
I should note, too, that is not my cursor.
That role for him, we know sort of in the direction it's going to go. But I want to touch on a point that earlier on we saw this collaboration, if you will, between the Conservatives and the Liberals around around this Canada-U.S. relationship? Any level of collaboration, or do you think Poilievre is going to continue to come in hard?
Oh, I think we can see from his tone and the content of what he's said so far since he's been since he was elected earlier this month. I think he's going to go at Mark Carney pretty hard. I think he's going to be, even stronger in his rhetoric, even more partisan in his rhetoric, because I think the key problem for Pierre Poilievre is that he wants to be doing the things that Mark Carney is doing. He doesn't. I don't know how the Conservatives are going to say they don't agree with pipelines and how they don't agree with this office that's been set up in Calgary. Right.
Pipelines? What pipelines? There's not been one pipeline announced. There's been nothing announced. Zero. Who cares that they set this up in Calgary? That doesn't matter. A bureaucracy office set up anywhere in the country does not matter. The results matter.
In a conservative stronghold to do these nation-building projects and to build ties with the business community in the West. I think Pierre Poilievre's in a tough spot. And so
No, Mark Carney's in a tough spot. The reason why they set that up in Calgary is because it's good optics for Mark Carney. Dawn Farrell, who Mark Carney appointed as the head of this new major projects office, was born and raised in Calgary. She lives in Calgary. That's why the office is there. It's not because Mark Carney chose this because there's going to be big pipelines going through Calgary. And as I've already shown, these two tied through ATCO, modular housing, Mark Carney through his buddies at Brookfield Renewables, working with Dawn Farrell, doing this deal with TransAlta, Brookfield, $750 million. That's why Dawn was picked. That's why it's in Calgary. It has nothing to do with Calgary being this epicenter of new pipelines coming in.
Really push on the projects. He's going to push on Carney's integrity.
We'll watch.
This lady is so clueless. She's just like biased liberal talking piece. Moving ahead, we've got CTV promoting Justin Trudeau's kid Zav and his music career. This is just like, why are they giving any airtime to this guy? Is this a favor to Trudeau because of all the money he gave them over the years? After dropping his debut single, Till the Night's Done, in February, 17-year-old Zav has since released 2 more tracks and music videos for his songs, Everything I Know and Back Me Up. His music is awful. It's auto-tuned. If this loser wants to be a musician, he should learn how to sing. As Mario points out here, why does Trudeau's kid have taxpayer-funded security? Why are we paying for his RCMP detail? That's why this story is relevant here. Like, who cares about Trudeau and his kid anymore? But we're paying for this. I learned things in time that no one else my age is learning, he said. I still have security, but I was always followed around. The teenager now wants to step outside his father's long shadow and create his own identity through music. Why are we paying for security for Zav? We should not be paying for anything for this family of idiots. I mean, Trudeau still get some security. It's not like in America where they get kind of security all the time, but they do get some security based on situation. So I'm sure that is extending over to Zav, Mr. Music Star, and his awful auto-tune music. His music will never outshine his father's legacy. That is why he needs protection. Ouch. Got this one here. 7 years later, after Justin Trudeau brought in the green Luigi, Canadians continue to accept legalization, 65%, with 41% expressing outright approval and only 29% disapproving. It says here, over a quarter, 27% of Canadians report using the green Luigi in the past 12 months. Justin Trudeau used this as a wedge topic to get elected, and look what that left us with in Canada.